Housing is the primary issue for many Americans, and it's actually emerging as the #1 issue for undecided voters. We've, of course, heard proposals from the presidential candidates like federal programs to entice builders to add to the supply, down payment assistance, opening up federal land for home building, and even deportation to create more supply. So this morning, I want to bring in Tricia Turner, a local real estate expert, to help us understand what's behind this housing issue and what may actually solve it. Tricia, good morning.
Good morning, you guys.
I want to ask you first off, help us understand how we got into this housing crisis as a nation.
Oh, I can totally tell you that. In June of 2022, we saw interest rates start to climb, and in the next 12 months, they climbed at a historic level. We've never seen them go at the rate that they did in a 12-month period. And literally, and I've been doing this 22 years, when I look at our records from June of 2022 and to where we are today, our sales started plummeting, and not just mine, but nationwide. And really, when you look at those interest rates, and since June of 2022, they've been up and down, nothing consistent. We've been as high as 8%. And then now we're hovering, between 6.7 and 7% again. And buyers are exhausted and they're just super confused.
And talk about supply as well, because if people are obviously not out buying homes, does that impact how many homes builders are putting up?
Well, funny you should say that. So during, the pandemic, everybody was buying like crazy, interest rates were low, and everyone seemed to have a surplus of money. And then the builders were like, well, let's get on board with this and start producing more because we were out of inventory. Well, interest rate hikes came along and things slowed down, and then some areas came to a screeching halt. What we're sitting on today in October 2024 is a lot of inventory, both new construction and resale, and no one is out there buying homes. And it's alarming. Been doing this as long as I have. It is really like a gridlock right now.
Okay, so we know interest rates are seemingly emerging as the big issue. What else is facing first-time home buyers, though?
I'll tell you that, and it's not just first-time home buyers, it's all home buyers. In the state of Texas, California, and Florida, homeowners insurance is at an all-time high. And so when you're looking at what you qualify for as a home buyer, and you're looking at your house payment, #1, with higher interest rates, property values are up, meaning your property taxes are up then as well. And now homeowners insurance, you've got a perfect storm here, and some people, #1, can't afford it, and #2, they're like, it's too much, I'm just going to rent.
So let's go there. What are renters dealing with right now? What are their top issues?
Their top issues, #1, are just that you're, again, in a market where rents are increasing, but at the same time, not all areas, because again, during the pandemic, when everybody was moving from everywhere, apartments started constructing like crazy too. So now we have a surplus of apartments, and in a lot of areas, their occupancy is really low and they're struggling. So it's a market I've never seen before in 22 years. It's
Wow.
quite alarming.
Okay, so let's connect it all back to what we're getting ready for in November. Help us understand, Tricia, how housing has become such a big issue driving voters' decisions.
When you look at the programs out there, #1, when you look at the cost of spending, their savings are depleting, their 401ks are depleting, they're at an all-time high with credit card debt. And again, inflation is at an all-time high. So people, their affordability is really a challenge right now. And so when they're looking at home buying, #1, what can they get? What can they afford? And a lot of these people do not have the down payment. And so how can you help with that? So they're looking for programs. How can I get assistance with my closing costs? How can I get a grant? And there are those available. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't know about them. And so no one's reaching out and no one's educating people on them.
So, Tricia, we've heard the proposals from the major campaigns, what Kamala Harris wants to do to address housing, what Donald Trump wants to do to address housing. But based on your expertise in this area, what do you think will actually work?
What's going to actually work, and I follow all of the major players that talk about this stuff, is we've got to do something with the interest rates. All of the data points that if you see the interest rates dip below 6% and actually stay there consistently, you will see, #1, sellers start to sell again, and #2, buyers start to buy again. But we've got to get control of inflation. We've got to get in control of people's mindset, because they're scared, and your confused mind is just going to say no. And that's what we've seen happen. People have just stopped.
Yeah, a major motivator to get out to the polls coming up next week. Tricia, thank you so much for
Definitely.
your time and your expertise this morning.
Thank you.